Welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast. We're your hosts, Tiana,
Jordana,
and Marilyn.
This podcast is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real deal on fat loss, muscle building, and what it really takes to build your 2.0 sculpted self, inside and out. Our motto is to work smarter, not harder. We'll break down science-based and actionable strategies to optimize your metabolism, ditch the diets, and create a sustainable, fit, and healthy lifestyle that actually works for you. So if you're ready to get stronger, not just skinnier, and embrace a body you love, hit that subscribe button and let's get sculpted.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Get Sculpted podcast. We are so glad that you're here with us today because we're diving into a topic that is going to hit very close to home right now, and it's how to survive this crazy, busy holiday season. The holidays are supposed to be a magical time, but for a lot of women, they end up being very stressful and very exhausting. And right now, we're in the thick of it. Canadian Thanksgiving and Halloween have just passed. American Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and before we know it, Christmas and the full holiday season is going to be here. So we know that this is officially the time of year where your calendar is full to the max, your to-do list has exploded, and somehow you are expected to show up everywhere, smiling, and keep it all together. But we also know that what ends up happening is the things that actually matter to you, like your workouts, your nutrition, your sleep, and I'm going to say it, your sanity, are usually the first things to go. But not this year. In this episode, we're getting tactical because we want you to walk away with the tools you need to stress-proof your holidays. So in this episode, we're going to be breaking down 3 big lessons. The first is how to plan your priorities. 2 is how to handle family and social pressure. And the third is how to set boundaries that actually stick. So if you have felt that the holidays derail your progress and you always end up saying, yeah, I'll start fresh in January, this is the episode you're going to want to come back to. So girls, are we ready to kick this one off?
Absolutely.
I love this topic.
Yes, let's do it. So T, I'm going to turn it over to you. Take us through the first big lesson that we want all of our listeners to really lock into.
All right. So first of all, we understand that we don't all have the same 24 hours. I think all of us really hate that quote because the reality is we have families, we have busy schedules, we have work, we have the days getting darker and colder. And if you already feel like you're struggling to build momentum, it can get even harder around the holidays. So we want to hold space for that. And we want to show you how you can trim the fat, so to speak, of what you don't need to be doing. Because oftentimes we feel overwhelmed because we just juggle a lot of balls in the air. So we just want to consolidate on what we really need to focus on. Because one of the biggest traps that I'm sure we can all relate to is you try and do it all and then you burn out and then you just can't even get started again.
Right. Been there.
Yeah. We hear that from our clients too all the time, right? And this is where I will also add a little blurb that when people are going to start with us, it's always funny when they're like, but things are busy or I'm overwhelmed. But those who are successful, they're like, that's why I'm starting with you. So you can help me with that.
That's right. It's to release that like decision fatigue, all the things that they have to do.
Busyness tends to snowball. It's like, I have never met anyone who's like, I have the slowest, most relaxing schedule and it doesn't matter the time of year. It's just perfect for me to do
right?
So true.
This program right now.
It's like one thing just gets replaced by something else. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to help you do here. Don't worry. We're going to help you consolidate. And again, we want to keep this super tactical, like Mare said. Number 1, we want to identify what are like your big rocks, your top priorities. And we don't want to have anything else aside from that. And we actually want to flip it. So Mare, I know you were saying that the holidays is a time when self-care tends to go. And this is probably exactly what you're experiencing. Like you're sleeping less, you're not really working out. You're kind of like putting those things on the back burner. But we want to flip that. We want to put those on the front burner. We want to lead with those. So we want to put your workouts, your dedicated exercise time, your movement, your nutritious and healthy meals, and just your mental energy, your sleep, your recovery, prioritizing yourself at the forefront. Okay, so we want to keep this to like nothing fancy. Maybe it's not even going to a gym. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm committing to home workouts. Or maybe I'm not doing a 5-day split right now. I'm doing 3 days. I'm not going to set a goal of 10,000 steps. I'm just going to do a daily walk. So it's committing to 2 to 3 must-do habits and making them realistic and manageable. So this is something I always tell my clients. It's if you have something on your agenda, an action item, it should feel maybe challenging, but manageable. So it's not like it's going to be all easy, but it shouldn't feel like you can't repeat this.
Absolutely.
Would you guys add anything to that?
I love that because it's really just getting it down to the bare minimum. And we have a great podcast episode about that from September about bare minimums. And it would tie in so nicely if you're looking at really paring things down. what are your bare minimums? For us, we love it to be those workouts, more veggies and protein than other carbs and fats, really making place for recovery and getting it very, very simple. Because if you can almost flip that script into these are like the non-negotiables that I have for the next 6 weeks, it might not be about making progress, but it might be about maintaining momentum. And that's really the key. I think people think there's this expectation to stay
at the same pace.
At the same pace, yeah. When they don't have to, they can be like, I want to just maintain through the holidays so that I can then dial back in January when there's more mental capacity and less events.
Yes. And that makes it less of a starting over and
Continue.
more, like you said, T, like momentum continues.
Yeah.
I think that's actually one of the things that our clients are shocked by when we tell them maintenance is progress.
Yes.
Like maintenance doesn't mean you're going backwards. So when you adjust, depending on what's going on in your life, that's actually very skillful.
I like that you guys said that, because if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I don't know, is that really a win, doing maintenance? Well, you haven't done that before. And that's why you're doing things differently around this holiday. How has it worked out for you before trying to be 100% perfect? You burn out. So this is why we're getting you to identify those BAMs. And like you said, Jord, listen to that episode. So what we're going to have you do then is schedule everything in your calendar. Because I think what happens with training and intentional eating, especially around the holidays and things like that, is we think, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. But that never happens. You never get to it when you get to it. Anything that's not in your calendar, and I think we know this when it comes to like our kids' activities and all the mental load that women and moms are taking, right? But you need to apply that to yourself. So if it's not intentional, if it's not getting scheduled, it's not getting done. This includes workouts. It doesn't need to be a 60, 70, 90-minute workout at all. Like I said, it doesn't even need to be a certain number of steps. You want to identify what is your 80%. That's what I tell clients. What is your consistently good, not just occasionally great? It doesn't need to be your full throttle. Like, one of my clients, Carrie, recently had a really busy season with work. And she was like, man, I just feel like a failure. I can't get these workouts in. And I said, what about 20-minute kettlebell circuits? And she did those 3 times a week for like 2 weeks. I think she was working like 70 hours, but she did that. She did the 20-minute workouts. She's like, I broke a sweat. My muscles were active and my back wasn't getting stiff because I was, sitting all day.
So good.
I have a little challenge for everyone listening, because if you think about this and you're like, well, how do I do that? I like to think about it this way, and I do this with my clients and I do this with myself over the holiday season. The 3x3 rule, 3 times a week, 30 minutes for the next 3 weeks. Schedule that in your calendar. And it just like gets it down to this bare minimum. It can be a kettlebell circuit. It can be a quick lifting session. And it's just getting something in over nothing.
Yes, that's exactly it. And there's a hierarchy, obviously. There's like, okay, well, if you're really overwhelmed, start with something. If you're already doing something, be more intentional. And basically just spending the time that you do have in the most efficient way possible that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck.
Yes.
Doing something is always worth it. And this is something I had to remind myself of as well, because I love heavy lifting. And sometimes I'm like, if I can't do a full throttle lift, everything has value. Moving your body is putting deposits in your health bank every single time. So we want you to schedule those. And if you're crushing it with 30 minutes 3 times a week, add some more. And then also, like, we want you to really consider your routine. Like, this is something that I tell my clients all the time. Like, when routines change, that's when we get thrown off, right? Oh, all of a sudden I have to drop the kids and all of a sudden it's dark. All of a sudden this. Okay, well, what's your new routine now? And we've done episodes about this too. You want to reset that. Like, for example, I know I'm going to come back to my walking pad walks sooner or later. When it's getting colder, you need to find that routine. Maybe you're doing a different route. Maybe you're walking in the morning. Just get that in your calendar. We also want you to be intentional with eating. This is where it gets tough. And we're going to talk about batch cooking, but I want to give you a different perspective. So sometimes people think, I don't want to spend hours in the kitchen. Okay, first of all, you're going to spend hours in the kitchen anyway, but we want to spend fewer hours. Also, I think people overthink this and they think of like those bodybuilders like on the counter and there's like 10 days worth of meals and they're all the same. You don't need to do that. Like a lot of us are working from home or hybrid or just don't want to do that kind of thing. I've never done that. You could just make more of the thing you're making. And people never think of it like this. Because I remember it's funny, whenever my in-laws visit, they don't get the whole meal prep thing. They know we do it, but then they'll be like, wow, you're making a lot of shrimp. I'm like, yes, this is for like 3 days. They're like, but you're making 2 packs. I'm like, yeah, for like 4 of us, we will use this. And then the next day, like, you're still eating that shrimp. I'm like, I'm still eating the shrimp. Yeah. But I ain't cooking. Like, what are you cooking for dinner? I'm not, because we got the food, right? So it's just thinking differently and keep it simple. Like, if you feel overwhelmed, just make extra. That's all we're asking. Heck, even order extra. I've heard that tidbit before, right? Like, if you're going out to eat, even save half for lunch. Would you guys add anything to that?
I love this one because I think where people do get overwhelmed is thinking that it has to be these Pinterest, beautiful,
Oh,
delicious,
yes.
fancy
Fancy.
meal prepped things with like carrot ribbons and stuff. And
Mhm.
it's like, who has time for that even in the
Yeah.
best of times? And when you're in this season of holidays, you're going to have times where you're having drinks with colleagues to celebrate a holiday, and then you're going to a family dinner, and then it's somebody's birthday, and then you have like 3 events that are part of, your company's blah, blah, blah. And you have to be at everything. And so meal prep, you might be like, oh, why would I waste my time meal prepping? But that's exactly why you should have things prepped and put in the freezer. And I usually, even myself, I tell my clients this, in your like beginning of November timeframe, bulk prep extra things and throw them in the freezer like a full meal so that you'll never regret it, because even if you don't use it all that much through the month, you will use it at some point in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and it is going to be there. You can just grab it, heat it up, and be like, oh, you know what? Pat on the back for past me for being so awesome.
Thank goodness I have it.
Right?
Yes.
She had my back. And that's like what you want to think about with batch prepping. It's like your future self is going to be so grateful that you did this doubling of the recipe or threw a couple of those in the freezer, because that's what you're going to come back to instead of going to the drive-thru.
And T, you made me think of something when you said, some of us work from home or are hybrid. I had a conversation with a client recently about batch prep because she kind of was a little bit overwhelmed thinking that it had to be the containers and this and that. And I was like, well, when you're working from home, do you not like make your lunch? And she's like, yeah. I said, so why don't you take that like 20 minutes, make extra, then you have lunch. So she was like, oh, and she started thinking, I could actually fit batch prepping in pockets of my day when I'm already doing something else. And I was like, yes.
That's what I do.
It doesn't even have to be this like designated hour or two. You can actually find time in your day when you're already doing something else. So that was like a big aha moment for her.
And I love that tidbit, Mare, because it goes to show that we just need to think a little different, right? Because sometimes we get overwhelmed. We just need to simplify. That's what we're going to help you guys do. And honestly, this is something I need to take that I'm just thinking of as we're recording this. My kids' lunches. It's like every morning I'm using our batch prep, but that's something I could do as well, is if you're packing your kids' lunch, do it when you do your batch prep. So
that's a great idea.
All right. So now we're going to talk about what you can do when life is really, really busy. It doesn't need to be like these long stretches. You just touched on this, Mare. So let's talk about micro actions. This means little movement snacks, little tiny breaks to just even stretch your body, stretch your legs out. Like think of when you're on a long road trip, right? Like everybody likes that moment where you stretch your legs. You want to get up for the sake of it. Do the same thing when the busy work days hit, when you are just feeling really tired. You've been sitting a long time, or you just feel like you're mentally burnt out and you need a break from a screen. I think that we can tend to be kind of stuck in these cycles, and the movement breaks really do add up. And also I will add that this is something that it's more like a way of thinking as well. So for example, like something I tell my clients is we want you to think of movement as the default. So like parking further away is a perfect example.
Taking the stairs.
Taking the stairs. Like just make those decisions. It's not like we were going to give you a running checklist of like, okay, you're going to do this for 5 minutes every hour or whatever. You can do that. But more importantly, it's just being in that mindset. Like you're not in the mindset of I'm going to sit all day. I'm always going to take the escalator. I'm always going to take the elevator. You're in the mindset that I'm always looking for opportunities for more movement.
Because when you're conscious of it, then it becomes reality, right? It's one of those things where if it's just like swirling in your mind, other things are going to take its place, and you're going to get to the end of your day and go, oh my God, I sat all day today. I didn't even get up. So if it's not intentional, it's not going to happen. So you have to make it intentional.
Yes.
And I think what's key about this time is I think back to like my corporate days, and I could have 2 to 3 events in a week, sometimes multiple events in a day. And so your body might feel actually really tired from all of the movement you're doing, being at like a cocktail hour or an evening event where you're standing for a really long time, like several hours, and you're maybe entertaining clients, or maybe you're the client being entertained and you're kind of like putting it on, right? Like that's what happens at a lot of these events. And like you're being yourself, but it's also like, would you also like to be with your family that night? Probably. So in those moments, those little movement breaks are really helpful, and things that I found helpful for me, because sometimes it was just the noise of being around so many people that you feel overwhelmed.
Sensory overload.
Yeah, sensory overload. I would actually find like a further away bathroom, and I'll walk to the further bathroom, like if it's in an event space or a conference area, or even like a bigger restaurant that might have a bathroom on another floor or whatever. I might go there because it's going to be quieter and not even always to go to the bathroom, but just to get like a mental break.
Yes. Good tip.
And you're getting in that movement. You're getting in like a moment to just like decompress, breathe, reset for a second, maybe go pee in quiet. And then you're like, check in and do like the little bedtime with your family for 5 minutes. And then you're able to come back and re-engage in that event. But those little micro movements can be woven into those bigger events.
I've even used that like at family functions. So I know, the weather gets colder and it's dark and all that when it's like November, December. But sometimes when you're that overstimulated environment, like I have a huge family. So even getting outside for 5 or 10 minutes, both my sisters have dogs. I'm not a big animal person myself. However, I have been like, hey, let me take your dog out just in the backyard just to get that 5 minutes of, okay, let me ground myself. And it gets me moving as well. So
true.
That's a good tidbit. Give yourself permission. I know being around a lot of people, especially like if you're introverted or not, you got to do that. And also, lastly, we want to be intentional with recovery and mental space like we just discussed. So this getting even more specific could be like just no less phone time, more like decompression time that's intentional. Because I found this too, and this is something that we always talk about therapy in this podcast, but #therapy is cool. My therapist always said to me, he's like, you have no problem being go, go, go. Like, I know you're never going to say no to doing more and you love it. But he's like, you know what your thing is? You need to get better at winding down. Like if someone asked you to wind down and take a bath in silence, you'd be like, this is terrible. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So it doesn't need to be crazy, but like a no phone zone in the evening. This is something I'm implementing. Just wrapped up a challenge at the time of this recording where we're doing a no phone zone. And I want to continue doing that an hour before bed. Just really having dedicated time. Everybody's on their screens and everybody's talking. Like read a book, do a meditation, even just go for an unplugged walk.
Yeah.
Like what are some things you guys do to decompress?
That no phone zone, that is critical. You guys know my routine in the nighttime. I like plug in my phone around 8 p.m. And for the most part, I'm pretty much offline after that point. And it goes into that wind down time. The outdoor walks, super important. And, not everyone has as much control over their calendar depending on the type of role you have. But Fridays for me are a time when I was in the corporate world, that was my work from home day. And it was a quieter day. We tended to not have as many meetings Friday afternoons. And I kind of carried that forward into entrepreneurship. And I actually don't work on Fridays after 12:30 p.m. It's a shutdown time. I don't care what I do after that, but it's for me. And summer times, I'll be by the pool. I'll be in the backyard. I'll go for outdoor walks. In, the colder weather, I'll still go for a walk, but it's usually something I'm doing for myself that time. And it's alone usually. And I like that because I'm otherwise not alone. You guys know.
Yeah. So important.
I am a big reader, like avid reader. So every night, like religiously, I read a book for at least 30 minutes, which is sometimes dangerous because it sometimes turns into like an hour, hour and a half if it's a really good book. But I just find reading completely calms me. And also depending on the type of literature you like, I really just get like very involved in the story. So that's my wind down routine every night. It's 30 minutes at least of reading.
I love that.
I love that. I wouldn't say mine is not unwinding, but it's my thing, which is watching, you guys know I'm obsessed with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But they have these things on YouTube that I found this channel that they break down every episode and they they talk about like the hidden gems and things like that. Don't get me wrong. We talked about this, but I love personal development. I love business, but anything that's going to turn your mind just into like
fun
and recovery. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So now that we've talked about where your priorities should be, how to get those in order, the next challenge is going to be managing external pressure. So Jord, I would love if you could talk to us about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a really good one because there are so many tips and tricks. We could probably have done an entire episode just on this, but the best laid plans can really be disrupted by well-meaning comments or pressures from others. You could go into a party, a family event, a Thanksgiving dinner, a social event with friends, or, a work event being like, okay, I am going to go about it in this one way. And then those external pressures, the people that you're with, the environment, they get you. Yes. And it can put you into an environment where you're overindulging, maybe doing things that you wouldn't normally be doing. It can be super exhausting and super stressful. So we want to set you up for the most successful environments so that you're going in with a really locked and loaded mindset. And I'd say
Mm-hmm.
that is the most important part of this. When you're dealing with external pressures, it's really about locking and loading your mindset and really making that promise to yourself that you're like, I'm choosing this. Nothing is going to get in the way of the decision that I'm making right now. For example, if you're like, I am not going to drink at this event, or my limit is 1 or 2 drinks, whatever you decide, you're creating a promise to yourself. And every time you create a promise with yourself, you have the opportunity to create evidence that you can follow through. And that when you do, you're building confidence and trust in yourself. And we need those skills when we're doing pretty much anything in life, when we're doing hard things. And this is your opportunity to really reinforce that skill set for yourself. And so I think it's really important. So the first one, before you go in, is identify what your triggers might be in this environment. Is it a specific person? Is it like Aunt Betty, who's always like pushing dessert on
That
you?
Aunt Betty.
That Aunt Betty.
She gets you every time.
Poor Aunt Betty. Sorry, Aunt Betty. I don't have an Aunt Betty, but someone does. But maybe she's always like, oh my gosh, you don't have enough on your plate. Aren't you going to try my famous sweet potatoes? What about the dessert?
Yep.
You didn't have any. You can give her a lot of feedback by just being like, oh my gosh, I'm full, but I'm happy to take some home. I'm full right now. Or maybe you've already had a bite and you can say, I had a couple of bites. That was so delicious. Thank you so much for that effort. People want to be seen, and that's a great way to show them thank you for caring. They're doing it from a place of care, but it doesn't feel that way to us. So that's one example. If it's a place, like there's a certain event that you used to go all out for, maybe this time you don't want to go all out. You don't want to leave with the stomach ache. You don't want to leave trashed. You want to wake up the next day because you're evolving into your 2.0 self.
Mm-hmm.
And you really want to be able to carry that through the next day. Think about the environments you're heading into and how you can navigate those differently. We've talked a lot about how to plan in advance at home, but how to actually plan in the moment. I'd love to ask you guys, like, what are some go-tos that you do for planning in the moment? Like we talked about responding to Aunt Betty a little bit, but how do you guys handle food or alcohol pushers?
What comes to mind, and you're so right, Jordan, is we can't always plan for every single scenario. And what we want to give you guys is not so much a running list of like, this is the script, this is what you do, and this is exactly what you order, because it's more like we want the concepts to be really clear so you understand how to make that decision. So automatically what comes to mind is like when you can't control the food. Number one, you want to do everything in your power to not come in hungry. I know we've talked about these kind of scenarios before. So like when you're in a scenario where you are at a place, you can't control the food, people are kind of pushing it on you, it's up to you to make that decision about like what is a heck yes right now and what doesn't align with the goal I'm trying to achieve. And then if you do say yes to the heck yes, my biggest tidbit is eat until you're 80% full. Like eat really slowly, enjoy it. Don't do it like just out of habit. Really sit down, have it mindfully, and then move on from it. And that's it. Instead of saying like, oh, I'm hungry, even though I ate something and, you know, my favorite meal is here. Hey, maybe you do make the decision that you're going to have a little bit, but make it intentional and don't overdo it, because that's going to help you avoid overdoing it when you're depriving yourself.
That's a great point. What about you, Mara?
So there's planning my responses in advance, but then there's also, I know with my family, because I've said this, like I have a very big family, it's almost like preparing them in advance. So I remember when I started my fitness journey, God love my mom. I love her so much, but she would get like angry with me if I didn't eat the food. So I actually just sat down and had a conversation with her. And I was like, where is this coming from? Because I'm not slighting your food. I love your food. It's not that I don't want to. It's like I'm making this choice for myself. So it was helping them understand where my choices were coming from. Because with Italian people, food is love. Food is comfort. Food is everything. And so there is some element of discomfort when you're not enjoying the food that the person has presented to you. They think, oh my God, what's wrong? What did I do? So it was preparing my family in advance for my choices. And it's interesting because now, all these years later, I noticed they're using strategies that I use. Like I had an aunt say to me, you know, when we were at that birthday party, instead of eating all the hors d'oeuvres, I took a little plate, I sat down, I ate it. And that was the strategy I had told her about. So yeah, it's really, really helpful to do that.
I love that you said that, Mare, because with the people we love most, like food is such a connecting thing, and these celebrations are meant to be fun and a way to try new foods, connect over foods that are traditional or memories for you. And sometimes people can take offense when it's like, well, I made this just for you. It's your favorite. Why aren't you having it? And having that conversation, setting the expectations in advance is a great way to navigate that. And then it could be like, I would love to take a piece home, or,
Mhm.
how does that work to take some with you? Because then you can manage the portions that you're enjoying and plan for it to enjoy it later. So I love that you said that. And then I think like the mental reframing that has to happen around the meaning that we give people's comments, you know?
Mhm.
That it actually has a meaning and that it's reflective on us. I think that all of us have been in that situation where we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't eat that. And then it caused this. And we create like a whole story around it. And I think what is a really great opportunity, if you're going through this exercise of looking at how the holidays can be healthier for you, just remember that people are usually mirroring their own insecurities. They're mirroring their own personal frustrations. It's usually not about you. So like let it go. And after it happens, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
Move on into the next day, the next event, the next thing that you're going to be doing, because certainly that person's not going to remember it either, nor should you.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say also just remember that you're the one who has to live in your body. So
Yes.
you're not responsible for other people's feelings. You can obviously deliver things respectfully and have respectful conversations, but Mary, I know you're going to touch on this too when it comes to boundaries. I think that's a big part of that is just it's not up to someone to necessarily like what you're saying, but you have to live in your body. And I have no problem telling people like, I love you. I'm going to save this, but this is the choice that I'm making.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the last one is really protecting your environment. So a couple of really quick tips, like you can bring your own dish to gatherings. You can add that healthy veggie tray. You can bring the salad. You can, bring another protein source that is going to round out the meal, especially at these like larger events that many people end up going to, like potlucks and stuff like that. It's a great way. And then my favorite approach for buffets, because everybody struggles here, you do like a walk around first. What's on the table? What are my choices? What is available to me? And then I make those choices in my mind mentally first. And then I still build my plate, protein, carbs, fats. So I go and I usually make my first circle and pick my proteins. I make my second circle and I go and pick my veggies and my carbs. And I'm like, okay, what kind of sauces or dressings do I want to add? It's just so habit at this point. It just helps me manage. And then I really decide what is going to go on my plate and what the portion is to stay within what would mostly a normal meal look like. And then if there's something that is like a real favorite or a love of mine, I might go back and have just a little bit of that, a couple of bites, or I might not. It'll depend on how I'm feeling, how full I am, how satiated I am. Would you girls do anything extra or different?
I want to kind of piggyback on that. I actually love that strategy, Jord. Like I kind of used that myself, but then when you introduced that to me, I really started using that. Like I became aware of how many things I put on my plate that I didn't actually want when I just like went to the buffet and I was like, putting it all on. So that strategy has helped me immensely because like I love a good buffet, but I hated how I felt after. Like I would feel sick to my stomach. I remember saying so many times, I'm never eating again. So that has helped me. So for everyone listening, that is one of my best takeaways that you've ever told me was to use that strategy at buffets.
Glad I could help.
Of course.
It is a good one. And also it reminded me, I know this is kind of controversial. I don't know if you guys are going to agree, but I never get all you can eat for that reason because I feel like it just encourages you to eat like triple what you'd normally eat. And then I always say this too when it comes to sushi. Number one, I find it's a lot fresher when it's not all you can eat because made to order. Number two, you actually save a ton of money because I find that I'm more than full from like spending half the amount of money. And then when you get all you can eat, you're just like, I might as well try this. And then you just keep ordering more. And then I'm like, I just ate like 2,000 calories.
Yeah. Well, because you're like, I want to get my money's worth.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you, T.
Amazing. Well, ultimately, you get to decide what matters most to you. Other people's opinions don't control your choices, and really planning ahead, which I think is the key theme of this episode so far for the holiday season, and having your action plan ready to go, what's going to happen before you go to an event, what happens at it, what happens after. It's really going to help you manage the holiday stress and protect your energy around it. So Mare, I would love for you to bring us home and talk about what that actually looks like. Break it down for us about how do we actually protect our energy, our sanity, our boundaries. Lay it on us. We need to know. We need the deets.
Well, first of all, it is all about boundaries. And I actually love that I'm speaking about this one because I think everyone does, but I really personally struggle with boundaries. I'm a people pleaser. A lot of women are. So I cannot stress this enough. Without boundaries, your energy will absolutely get drained. It's not like it might, it absolutely will. That's the case all the time, but especially during the holiday season. Upholding your boundaries is hard. We're not going to tell you that it's an easy thing to do, especially depending on your family dynamic. But I feel like a lot of women come at this because they're like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. Or, I feel guilty saying no to this or that. Or even some women have taken the holidays on themselves. So they make the holiday. They are the holiday. So creating boundaries becomes really, really difficult. But I know that for a lot of women too, they do go through the holidays and then they get to the end and think, I've lost myself, right? Like that was a whirlwind. They feel like garbage. And all of it boils down to boundaries. So we're going to break this down into some really tactical ways that you can use boundaries this season. So first thing is say no with intention. So what that means is, like you're going to get a lot of invitations. You're going to get, requests like, can you bring this? Can you do this? It doesn't deserve an automatic yes. If it does not line up with your priorities or protect you and your energy, then it's a no. And I remember this saying I was told once that has really stuck with me. It's saying no to something else is actually saying yes to yourself. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's right. Like it's not a selfish thing. It's actually giving back to yourself. So say no with intention. It's not always easy, but you can do it. And the more you practice that, the easier it gets.
And the more we say it, the more everyone knows it and can actually practice it. And it can be like a societal truth because I think we still see so many women being like, oh, I feel so selfish taking care of myself or saying no. And it means it's work for someone else. And it's like, you can only do what you can do. Like it doesn't mean everything.
Yeah. And it's your holiday too. I agree. And that is a fact. Like that's how our brains work. They get stronger when we practice whatever it is we're practicing. So boundaries are not a bad thing. Second is, we've already talked about this a little bit, but protect things like your workouts and your sleep. Because during the season, we get so busy that it is so tempting to just say like, oh, I'm going to skip my workout today. Or, okay, yeah, I'll go to bed a little later tonight, but I'll catch up tomorrow or next week. But the truth is, no, you don't.
Yeah.
That just snowballs, right? And you get more and more tired and you miss more and more workouts. So we want you to treat those things as your non-negotiable. We've talked about it. Those are your anchors. That is actually what's going to keep you sane and grounded and feeling like you can actually get through this holiday. So protect those things. Third thing, communicate very clearly. Boundaries aren't going to work if you just talk to yourself about them and be like, I'm going to do this, and then you never do it. So you want to be upfront and kind, but you got to be firm. You've got to let people know your boundaries. So George, you talked a little bit about this, like with social events, right? If you get asked to come to a work event, let's say, and you don't want to be out late, but the people at the office party till really late and they drink, just be upfront and say, you know what, I'm going to come out for a couple hours, but I am going to be leaving at this time because I want to get home and rest. Or how about just say no if you don't want to, right? If someone asks you, it's okay to say, I would love to join you, but I want to keep this evening free because I have a lot of social commitments this week. There's nothing wrong with saying no. And then the last one is use reminders and check-ins. Because again, it is very easy to tell yourself you're going to have a boundary. And then when you're in the moment, it's out the window. So have a reminder buddy or a check-in buddy. Heck, I've even had my sister call me at a certain time. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I have to come home. Great. Okay, thanks, Gabby. I'm like, oh, gotta go. So you know what? Nobody needs to know what's happening in the background. Honor your boundaries and do whatever you have to do to keep them firm and in place.
Okay, I love this one so much because I will pre-order an Uber for myself because I'm having so much fun, and then I'll break my own boundary being like, I was going to leave at 9, but like,
I love that.
I really want to stay till 11. And it's like, no, I made a promise to myself. I got to be home. So like put things in your way so that you have to follow through, right?
I love that.
So I'll pre-order an Uber. I'll, set an alarm on my phone that's just like going to vibrate for me to be like, yo, it's time to go. Like, come on, woman, wrap it up. And it's like a little alarm that says, go say your goodbyes. Like, you can do whatever you need. This works for my brain, but that stuff really, really helps. I'll also use Scarlett's bedtime as like a personal reminder. So it's like, hey, I have to step out and make a call. And then I do this little personal check-in with myself.
Yes.
Like, hey, am I having fun? How much longer do I want to stay? How long is it going to take me to get home? What's the weather like? And I just come back to reality, right? For a second.
That's really smart.
I find those things are really helpful for me. They ground me in the moment and not just let me get carried away in what's happening around me.
Exactly. So good. I know sometimes we don't have control, but really only plan things during the day. Like if I'm meeting a friend, I'm like, this is happening during the day because of that reason.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I know it's sometimes harder going to, let's say, like I used to have to do a lot of stuff in the corporate world where it's like you're going to a hockey game and taking clients, and there's a specific start and end time to these things. But at the same time, like nobody's faulting you for having a family or living further away. Like,
and prioritizing it.
Yes. And no one's going to fire you for having to go home at 9:30 instead of staying till 11:30. So just remember where the most important parts that you're giving yourself, especially in the work front. Like you don't have to be all, do all, give all in order to be successful in those environments.
Yes. That's why I tell my clients, your boundaries, it's actually the best gift you're going to give yourself this holiday season. And it's not about pushing people away or being, recluse. It's really about just preserving your energy, because you don't want to get to the end of the holiday season and like just hate everything that happened. You want to look back and be like, I had fun with my family. I had such a great time at that work party. And you do not want to get to the end and think, I just let myself go. That's the worst feeling ever. Yeah, I think boundaries are key in this case to surviving the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had to set a boundary with your family? Does anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say,
I'm like, I don't know anyone who's going to say no to that.
Let's normalize that, because that's what I wanted to get at. I think like this is so real for all of us, and we just have to have these conversations about it because that's what makes it real,
Yeah.
Yeah. At most of our family events, pretty much everyone brings something now, because it is a lot for the one person to feed like 16 people or however many are coming. It's a lot. And there's other factors like cost and time and stuff like that. So allergies. So there's things to take into consideration. And a lot of times too, we've gotten into the habit of like finding a really great place that'll cater. And guess what? It takes the labor off of everybody. And then all of a sudden, everyone could maybe pitch in a little if they wanted to, or if someone's hosting, they can host, and that's their choice to do it that way. Just because you've done something one way for a long time doesn't mean you can't change how you're doing it in order to, especially if you're the hostess, to enjoy it along with your guests so that you can have energy the next day and that you can sit back and be like, wow, that was a really fun night.
Oh, yeah. Never apologize for putting yourself first, period. And once you have that mindset, like nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
On that note, as usual, this has been such a great conversation, and we hope for all of you listening that you are walking away with these very practical and tactical insights, how to stress-proof your holiday, because big takeaway, you don't have to sacrifice your health, your sanity, or your joy just to get through the next few months. With these strategies that we've talked about, you can absolutely hold space for both things, being consistent and enjoying the holidays. Recap. Let's talk about those big 3 lessons. 1, plan for your priorities. Do not try to do it all. Just protect what matters. 2, protect your energy from your family and social pressure. Other people's opinions don't get to run your life. You make choices for yourself. And number 3, set boundaries that stick, because boundaries are not selfish. They're necessary, and they're going to help you get through this. And we promise that if you can even put one of these lessons into action this season, you are definitely going to feel a difference, and you're going to want to do more and more and more of that. Thank you for tuning in. And if this episode hit home, we would love for you to share it with another woman in your life, because we know there are ladies in your life who need help stress-proofing their holidays as well. And if you post our podcast to socials, be sure to tag us so we can thank you and cheer you on. And we will chat with you next episode. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Get Sculpted. We hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step in your fitness journey. Remember, building your 2.0 body is a unique journey for you. It's about showing up for yourself consistently and not being perfect.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review and tag us on social at getsculpted.ca. Your feedback helps us reach more women like you who are ready to cut through the noise and make lasting changes.
For more daily tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content, follow us on Instagram and check out our handles in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Get Sculpted. Until then, remember this: getting sculpted isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.